A criminal must be punished, and I dare assure you, Zelensky, his junta knows perfectly well why they were hit. We appreciate Turkey's willingness to continue facilitating such negotiations and, in general, a peaceful settlement. Russia is interested in ensuring that all the agreements reached on this issue over the past 3 years are implemented. But, unfortunately, the same cannot be said about our Ukrainian neighbors, who their Western patrons not only allow them to do whatever they want, but actively encourage them. This is especially evident in the position of European countries. In all periods, no matter what they were called, ceasefire, moratorium, the Ukrainian regime continued to carry out deliberate, targeted strikes, both on energy and any other civilian infrastructure, on residential buildings, on shops, on kindergartens, schools, and in general on peaceful civilians, among whom there have been, and unfortunately continue to be, casualties, including those killed and wounded, and the fact that the Western elite, including in the United States, but above all in Europe, generally tried not to notice this at all. This is obvious to everyone. Those who are trying to push the United States, the current US administration, toward the Biden position, the path of war, they understand perfectly well what is happening. That is why our retaliatory strikes, which you mentioned, are absolutely natural in this situation. A criminal must be punished. And I dare assure you, Zelensky, his junta knows perfectly well why they were hit, just as they know perfectly well that, unlike their strikes, ours were carried out exclusively against military targets and facilities used by the armed forces of Ukraine. As for the rumors about the United States wanting to replace the Russian negotiator, unlike during the Biden era, which is now a thing of the past, we communicate normally with the United States. We have normal communication. And if the United States wanted to convey something to us, they know how to do it without resorting to the humiliating method of spreading rumors. And as for the head of the Russian negotiating team, specifically Mr. Medinsky, in case anyone still has doubts, he is appointed by the President of the Russian Federation, Putin, not by the leader or representative of any other country. Yes, our presidents agreed during their last phone conversation to prepare the exchange of prisoners between the United States and Russia. The details, for obvious reasons, are being coordinated through the appropriate competent authorities. I do not allow for attempts by Brussels to disrupt the renewed negotiation process. I see these attempts, as does and any objective observer, it has reached completely unprecedented actions, statements, and appeals. And most importantly, of course, is this confusion, this nervousness from the fact that they realize that they themselves, the European hawks led by France, Britain, Germany, and also Poland, right there, that they themselves do not have enough strength to continue this war. And they are very afraid. Simply, they are mortally terrified that the United States will just wash their hands of them and say, you started this mess together with Biden, so you go ahead and overcome. President Trump has already stated that this is not his war. And he's interested in seeing negotiations between Russia and Ukraine continue. Well, as for the second round of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, if you ask me, I would once again turn to our Turkish friends. Istanbul is a very good place. President Trump, he is a person who wants results. And when he sees that his efforts, a group of European representatives begins to sabotage, pushing Ukraine toward completely reckless actions, including drone attacks on Moscow, other of our cities, and attacks on the helicopter of the President of the Russian Federation. Of course, he may experience certain emotions. Of course, as someone who does not like obstacles on the path to achieving noble goals, he develops certain opinions, a certain rhetoric. The main thing here is not to focus on the rhetoric, but to ensure that Europe stops sabotaging the movement toward peace, which is supported by both the United States and Turkey, and to which the Russian Federation is fully committed. As to what? Yesterday, President Putin told Mr. Fidan, stating our readiness as soon as the exchange of memorandums takes place, to resume the negotiation process with the Ukrainian delegation. This statement by Mr. Merz only further emphasizes the level of competence of the people who are now in Europe, have managed to seize power. Yesterday he declared with such pathos that from now on and forever there will be no restrictions on the range of strikes. Moreover, he spoke not only for himself, but also for France, Britain, and the United States. A few minutes later, or maybe an hour later, the Vice-Chancellor of Mr. Merz said that nothing of the sort had been discussed or was being discussed at all. The same thing was said, as I understand it, by the Bundeswehr, representatives of the Bundeswehr. And then Mr. Merz, apparently, after realizing what exactly he had said, stated that he was not referring to a new decision, but to some decision that had been made by the previous administration, the administration in Berlin, which once again leads us to think that the decision to allow Ukraine to do whatever it actually wants, well, at least within certain limits, but regarding strikes on targets on Russian territory, that decision was made a long time ago and was kept secret.